If your coin total is mudded after Team of the Year and you want to get some back, make sure you check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get 5% off all your orders. This supports the channel greatly, and I do very much appreciate it. So what's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some updated 422 custom tactics and player instructions to help you get those wins in division rivals, foot champs or whatever. But just before we get into today's video guys, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop this video a thumbs up, so that does really help with the YouTube search algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. So starting off with the defensive style guys, I like to use this on balance. The reason being is it gives you the greatest control over your defense, so you're able to press when you need to press and you're able to drop off and be more conservative when you need to be. Some people like using pressure tactics such as press after possession loss, but I'm personally not a fan. Now moving on to the defensive width, I currently have this on 42. The reason being is FIFA 23 primarily is a narrow game, so it's important we do defend in a more narrow shape, but the good thing about having the width on 42 is that you have that natural coverage of the wings also, so you can still defend narrow and you can still cover the wings, so it works very well. Now moving on to the depth, I have this on 55. The reason I have this on 55 is because it's a very nice defensive line, so you're not pinned back too much in your own box and your defensive line isn't also too high to the point where you're constantly getting through balls, so it's a very nice balance and it works very well in the current state of the game. Now for build up play guys, I like to use this on balance. This is because it suits you up for most types of FIFA 23 gameplay. There are many different types of gameplays you will experience, whether it be fast and responsive, slow and laggy, fast but laggy, you know, there's so many different types. So balanced is the best to suit up for all of those different types of gameplays you will experience. Now moving on to chance creation, as always I suggest using direct passing. The reason for this is if you look at the diagram bottom right hand corner of the screen, you can see the white dots, which are your attackers. They're constantly moving around in a dynamic motion to break through that defensive line. That doesn't happen with something like balance, so direct passing is an absolute must in my eyes. Now for attacking width guys, I have this on 47. The reason being is the 4-2-2 is like primarily a narrow formation, but unlike some other narrow formations, it does have a bit of natural width to it. Unlike the 4-1-2-1-2 for example, you do have that natural width because you almost have like a front four, so you have a bit of natural width between those four players, so it's nice to spread them out just a little bit, but you don't want to up the width too much to the point that it becomes like a 4-2-4. So by having the width on 47, you have a narrow 4-2-2, but at the same time you still utilize a bit of the width. Now moving on to players in box, I have this on 6. The reason being is I want to get some players into the box for crosses and to create chances, but at the same time I don't want to overcommit my whole team and I don't want to get counter attacked, so I found a good middle ground in having this on 6. As for corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because I don't really cross set pieces. I've got a corner routine that you guys can check out in the top right hand corner of the screen if you like, but yeah, that's the reason I have my corners and free kicks on 1. Now moving on to the players you want to use guys, in the striker positions I like to go for a bit of a balance, so I have one more creative player in Jairzinho, but somebody that can still finish the ball of course, and then I've got one more of a clinical finisher or a poacher in Robbie Keane, so we have a nice creative finisher dynamic between the two, but you guys are free to use whatever you want. As for the two cams, these just need to be two technical players, almost like winger style players. You need players that are quick, players that have a bit of pace obviously, that are able to dribble, pass and shoot, so really good attacking winger style players in these cam spots. You don't want to use clunky players, otherwise you might struggle a little bit. Now in the left CDM spot we use a more defensive midfielder, so we're using a flashback Jorginho. You want somebody with a medium high work rate if you can get it, because this is going to be somebody that's going to stay back, but you also need somebody with very good defensive stats also. For the right CDM we use a more box to box style player, so we're using the flashback Paul Pogba. This is somebody with very well rounded stats, somebody that's going to attack and defend, and if you can get it, a high work rate is super beneficial, but for example this Pogba's got a high medium and he still works just fine, so the work rates are just like a preference, but if you can't get them it's also fine, it's not a necessity if you will. Now moving on to the fullbacks, I like to have a bit of a balance between the two, where I've got Roberto Carlos who is like more attacking minded, so he's going to add extra support in attack, and then we've got one more defensive fullback in Cafu. This is somebody that's going to stay back and add security to the defense. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, FIFA, these just need to be as good as you can possibly get them. I keep having an issue, by the way, where it keeps swapping my centre backs over when I back out. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue, but yeah, these two just need to be as good as you can get them, and Chesney is in goal for chemistry. Now for the player instructions, guys, on the left striker, the one that I use as more of a poacher, finisher, whatever you want to call it, we have stay central and get in behind. We have him on stay central because we don't need him drifting off to the wings. We've already got wide cams for that, so we don't need him to do that. And we have him on getting behind, so he's always making those attacking runs to get into the best areas to finish off those chances. Very important that your more clinical player has these instructions on, otherwise you won't get as many chances with them. Now for the more creative player, I have stay central and I leave everything else alone. Stay central we have for the same reason as Keane. We don't need him drifting off to the wings as we've already got Chiesa there. And then we leave everything else alone because we don't want to restrict this player too much. They're sometimes more of a creator, so we don't just want them running in behind. Sometimes we might want them to sit a little bit deeper so they can also play in Robbie Keane. So he might sit a little bit deeper and then Robbie Keane might run and then we could play a through ball, for example. So it's just got a nice dynamic when we do this. Now moving on to the cams, guys, I have them on get into the box for cross. The reason we have them on get into the box for cross is if you don't have them on get into the box for cross, they're sometimes very conservative. They don't get involved too much. So by having them on get into the box for cross, they're always making those transitional runs to get involved in the attacks and you really get the most out of them. Doesn't mean you have to cross the ball to them, just means they make those runs to get more involved. Now on the left CDM, the more defensive minded CDM, we have stay back while attacking, cut passing lanes and cover centre. We have these settings on stay back because we don't need this player to go forward. We need him to stay back and add defensive security. We have him on cut passing lanes because it really does help to break up the play and kickstart more attacks. So I just think this is the most defensive option. And we have him on cover centre because we want him to cover those central areas. We don't need him to cover the wings as we've already got two players on each side that will do that. Now moving on to the right CDM, the more box to box style player, we have cover centre on him and then we leave everything else alone. Cover centre again because we need him to cover the central areas when he is defending. We don't need him to cover the wings as we've already got Chiesa and Cafu. And then we leave everything else alone because we don't want to restrict this player too much. We want him to attack, we want him to defend, we want him to have a bit more of a free role to really help us play better. Now moving on to the left back, my more attacking fullback, we have balanced attack and overlap. The reason we do this is because the 4-2-2 is obviously still quite a narrow formation, so sometimes we need to get that extra width out of it. So by having one fullback on balanced attack and overlap, it adds those extra width because they always make those overlapping runs to give you a wider option, which works very nicely. Now moving on to my more defensive fullback, I have stay back while attacking and overlap. We have him on stay back because we want him to stay back while default, so we've always at least got 3 defenders back. We have him on overlap because let's say I do trigger a run forward with him, we want him to make the overlapping run to add extra width. If this feels a little bit too attacking for you guys, you could either put the left back on stay back as well, or you could maybe put the right CDM on stay back as well, so you can add an extra defensive support player if you like, but I really enjoy using the team the way I've got it set up. But yeah guys, that is everything for the video. If you have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on those notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and I will catch you all later. Peace.